Hey guys, what is up? Chris here with Cozy Friendship Unit. Just me today, guys. Nintendo kind of did what we all expected they would do, and Papa Bowser, that's my new Reggie replacement, I guess, has graced us with some Super Nintendo games on Nintendo Switch Online. Probably we'll have another video discussing whether or not this is enough to make the service better, but until then, I looked at the honestly quite solid lineup of 20 Super Nintendo games that we got, and then I went to work thinking of what other Super Nintendo games would be nice to have on this service. And there's no specific number of games I'm going to list. However, I am going to list things in three categories. I'm going to list third-party games first, followed by first-party games, followed by games that I don't think we're going to get, and I'll give a reason why, but it would be awesome if we do get them. So, the first topic's realistic third-party, second's first-party, third is not realistic, in my opinion. Yeah, and that's how we're going to do today's video. But real quick, we are doing a giveaway at 1,000 subs. We're giving away a copy of Conan Exiles. Guys, we are so close. We would super much appreciate your support in the form of a subscribe. Also, let me know down below what games I missed and what you want to come to the Super Nintendo Classic. So the list that I made is based on a couple of things. It's based on things that would be helpful that this service brings to the table. I'm talking online play, I'm talking portability, and I'm talking rewind feature. I'm also taking into account roughly how many times these games have been released, how available they are, how expensive an original copy costs. So these are all kinds of floating things that have caused me to make my list. And starting things off is Super Smash TV. So Smash TV is a really slept on game, honestly. I think this game could easily, if it wasn't so much of a quarter muncher, could have easily kind of made itself a much bigger name. It was pretty big in the arcades. This actually had an NES release, but this is essentially a twin stick top-down shooter that you can play cooperatively, which is part of the reason I think this would be great. Apart from being able to play cooperatively, you don't have separate screens. Everyone shares the same screen real estate, so you could play it portably also. This is also a really fun game with fairly modern controls in that it's twin stick, even though one of your sticks is buttons, basically, and the other one's the D-pad, but in this case, the Switch joystick. It honestly, it plays really well. Again, a little bit of a quarter muncher, but again, that rewind feature might help you get out of some tough corners. This is one of my more played Super Nintendo games with friends. So, Smash TV, very good. Next up is Chrono Trigger. There's a big reason. I do think that this is a realistic pick because I feel like it is. I don't know. I don't have a good reason for it. Chrono Trigger is one of the Super Nintendo is known for being an RPG powerhouse. This is like the top of the line for RPGs on the Super Nintendo. This is like fighting for number one, number two. This is as good as it gets, if not one of the best Super Nintendo games, period. And it's a super great game. It's also fairly long, so it would benefit from the portability of the Switch. I think if we were to get a Square RPG, either this or Mario RPG would be the one that we would get. Speaking of Mario RPG, the next one would be Mario RPG. I can see us really getting one or the other. Honestly, it might be Mario RPG. The reason I think Chrono Trigger, though, is because we didn't get that released on the Super Nintendo Classic. So if they were going to do one on one and one on the other, I think that might be the way to go. Put Chrono Trigger on here, have Mario RPG for the Super Nintendo Classic players. However, Super Mario RPG is a super accessible mashup of Square and Mario, and it's actually like the first, not 3D, but 3D style of Mario before Mario 64. This was a really weird place for Mario, but it was when Square was at their peak. Super good game. Super fun game. So yeah, Mario RPG. All right, kind of sticking on this RPG trend, we didn't get any English Fire Emblem games on the Super Nintendo. They were never translated. They never made it this far. So instead of that, I have Ogre Battle. Ogre Battle, part of the reason I'm picking this is because the cart price is actually really expensive, doesn't get released too often, has been released on the Virtual Console though. So Ogre Battle is as close to Fire Emblem as you're going to get, or it's kind of like a turn-based tactics game. Also a good game and a fun game. Next we have Bomberman or Bomberman 2, it doesn't matter, like any Bomberman game. But Bomberman is super fun with friends. There's no other way to put it, and it's aged pretty well, so I think Bomberman would be a great pick. There's not much to say. Bomberman's fun. Next is partially picked because of co-op play, partially picked because of the cost of the cart. Sunset Riders is kind of a shoot 'em up, side-scroller, kind of hard, but regardless, this I think would be nice solely because of the cost of the cart. It's hard to officially play this game, and it would be nice to be able to play this game officially. Next is R-Type 3. There's another shmup kind of coming down the line, but I think R-Type 3 is up there with like Gradius 3. That could be another one, but R-Type 3 is super fun shoot 'em up. There's bullet hell kind of style game, very fun. Also, that genre is not currently represented on the Nintendo Switch Online, so it would be awesome to get at least one. Again, I have another one coming down later, but I'm not sure if we'll get it. But yeah, R-Type 3 I think is fairly realistic. It's also super affordable if it doesn't happen and you want to pick up a cart. Fun game. So next, I wanted a fighting game because that's not very well represented. And the fighting games you're going to see later down the line, I have reasons why I don't think we're going to get those. So that being said, I chose Fatal Fury, specifically Fatal Fury 2, for really one reason, apart from the fact that I have my reasons for the other games. Because of our latest edition in Smash Brothers, I think this might be the way to tie in that game, especially since they showed the Smash character intro with those classic SNK Neo Geo sprite work. I think it would make sense to give us a Nintendo Switch Online game to pair with the release. And I think that game would be Fatal Fury 2. And next we have Contra 3. I think this game is just great. It's also very fun to play with friends, and just like any other Contra. And I think we might have some other benefited functionality in that you have this rewind feature, and I think the rewind feature would be super helpful for playing alone or playing with friends, just being able to rewind a section that you messed up. Contra 3, very fun, very good looking, one of the better looking, better technical games on the Super Nintendo, and very fun. Next I have Evo, which is almost solely picked because of the cost of the cart. It's like, well, it usually ranges well over $200 to pick up a physical copy of this. I think I honestly have not played it on cart, this game, but it's a unique game. You're kind of evolving as the game goes. You start as you evolve, like you eat things and you fight things and you change forms. It's weird. Again, not this game is really more for the like historian type person. The game's not bad, but this is not as good as some of the other games previously listed, and it's very expensive to play legitimately, so I think this will be good. And that wraps up my third party list. Pretty big list. Now I'm going to switch to first party, which is actually astoundingly small, because Nintendo actually did a really good job covering things with the opening run of this service. I only have 2 games, and the first one's Earthbound, and the reason for that is it has come to the Virtual Console, but not very often, and we don't have Virtual Console anymore. The only other legitimate way to play this game is on the Super Nintendo Classic, apart from getting the physical cart, which is about $200. This game is called Classic, so people would love it, and it would benefit greatly from being in portable form because it's a longer game. So I think Earthbound is almost like, if I could pick one game out of any game, probably in this whole list, I would probably pick Earthbound, just for the fact that it is a first-party Nintendo game. It's hard to acquire legitimately, and the portability would go a great way in assisting it being played. And the next game is Super Punch-Out, which I would fully expect coming down the line. Super Punch-Out, kind of a evolution of the Punch-Out game from the Nintendo Entertainment System. Great game. I mean, not a whole lot to say about it. Honestly, the rewind feature would help this game quite a bit. And next is kind of the mashup list of all the games that I think are, like, not really gonna happen. I'll explain. Basically, if there's more than a 50% chance it's not gonna happen, I put these games in this list. Starting with Donkey Kong Country, it's not impossible that we get Donkey Kong Country. This is honestly one of the more likely ones. However, I am not convinced that it's hard to tell how much Nintendo is willing to spend to license some of these games, because this is a quote free, like, this is like an add-on. It's not like when you buy the Super Nintendo Classic and they made that thing for like $5, and the rest of the money of the $80 is you paying off the license fees for Nintendo, and then Nintendo making money off of it. It's hard to tell how much they're going to spend. If they want to work with Microsoft to make this work, we could easily see all 3 Donkey Kong countries, which would be amazing, and that would be a great ad. And the fact that we have King K and we have Banjo and Smash makes me think there's a possibility, but again, I'm not going to bank on it. Next is Final Fantasy VI, really 5 too. But the reason I think this is highly unlikely, well, I guess it's technically Final Fantasy III here. The reason I think this is highly unlikely is because Square has been releasing anything and everything they can on the Switch, and it would not surprise me if they don't want this to get in Nintendo Switch Online and they just want to release it separately, like they have been doing with all the 3D Fire Emblem or Final Fantasies. That's literally the entire reason I have. Next is Turtles in Time. That would be a great game to have. One of the better beat 'em up party games. It would be super fun with friends, super fun online. However, licensing. That's all I have to say. And next is the bullet hell shoot 'em up kind of game. I have UN Squadron. Again, that's a licensing thing. It is like a franchise game, even if nobody's talking about UN Squadron as like an anime or a series or an IP anymore. It still would have to be licensed. I'm not sure who owns the rights to it. There we go. Next is Street Fighter. Realistically 2, any version of 2 really, but they've already released that. That was like a near launch game on the Switch for like $40. Granted, yes, it was not just the Super Nintendo port of Street Fighter 2, but I think that goes to show how unlikely we're gonna, like, I don't think Capcom would give up Street Fighter and just let the ROM sit. However, that'd be sick. You'd have online play Street Fighter for, not free, but your $20 membership. Going on the same line is Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat is already on the Switch in a big way. While they don't have the classic games out, so I think this is a bit more likely. I'm just not sure if they would want to have this on the service. And the next game is Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Super unique game and super fun game. Again, very fun game to play with friends. I don't know how they would go about getting this game. I don't know who owns the rights to this, because it was developed by LucasArts. I don't know if Disney owns the rights. I have no idea. But it would be great if we could see it. Not sure if we will. Next is Harvest Moon. Well, this game might not have aged well compared to like newer Harvest Moons or Stardew Valley. The price of the cart is astronomically high. It's well over $200 usually. And that is a good reason to, if you want to be able to legitimately experience the game, this would be a good way to do it. And I don't know who owns the licensing, because I know it's kind of split between two companies, and I'm not sure if they would be able to make it happen. And next would be Castlevania 4. And Castlevania 4, owned by Konami, they are putting out Castlevania collections, which you spend money on, give Konami the money, so I don't think they would be able to get 4 on this service. And then we have the Mega Man X series, similar deal where there's kind of a collection out there, but X2, X3 would all be super great pickups. And the last one, this is maybe cheating, maybe not. It's Secret of Mana, and I don't think they would do Secret of Mana. It would be awesome if they could do like if they integrated the multi-tap in. So Secret of Mana actually allows 3-player simultaneous multiplayer, and it's a pseudo real-time action RPG. It's very cool, very unique for the Super Nintendo especially. But it really shines when you have 3 people playing, and I don't know if they would go the extra mile to integrate multi-tap support. If they did, I know I mentioned Bomberman earlier, that would be awesome. But those are all my games. It's a lot of games, actually, that we ran through. All of these games are great, by the way. If you want to check any of them out somehow, you want to buy the cart, get Virtual Console, do whatever. They're all really fun games. I picked them for a reason. But those are the games that I picked, and those are the reasons. Honestly, the 20 games that we have are super good. So, yeah, there we go. That's all for me, guys. I hope you liked this. Leave a like if you did, and I'll catch you guys next time.